You probably think that a narcissist always looks like a tyrant, shouting, making scenes, breaking things. But that is a misconception. The most dangerous ones look completely different. Around them, there are no shouts, no scandals, no broken dishes. On the contrary, he can appear to be the most pleasant person you have ever met. Smiling, intelligent, able to listen and say the right things. He takes an interest in your life, seems caring, attentive, and knows how to make an impression. People around him love him, respect him, and trust him. He seems almost perfect. A partner, a friend, a colleague, even a dream man. But behind this facade lies something completely different. Coldness, calculation, manipulation. This is not the one who slams his fist on the table, not the one who openly belittles you or forces you to feel under control. Number. His weapon is much subtler. He can devalue you with a single phrase spoken as a joke. He can plant doubt in your memory. You imagined it, you misheard. Quietly and discreetly, he convinces you that the problem is not in him, but in you. He will never say, "I am hurting you." He simply creates conditions in which you begin to doubt yourself. Gradually, reality becomes unstable. You get lost in your thoughts, apologize for what you never did, and start to believe that something is wrong with you. This is the covert narcissist. He does not cross boundaries loudly. He does it elegantly, discreetly, in a way that others around you would never notice. And you are left feeling anxious, guilty, and confused, with no way to explain to anyone what is happening. That is why this type of narcissist is among the most dangerous. With them, it is so difficult to leave, to protect yourself, to explain to others why you are drowning. Today, we will break down who covert narcissists really are, which tactics they use, and why it is so difficult to recover after such relationships. When you look at such a person from the outside, it seems that you are facing someone almost perfect. A covert narcissist knows how to build an image that inspires admiration and trust. He can be polite, attentive, witty, and thoughtful. Colleagues value him for his ability to get along with people. Friends entrust him with their deepest secrets, and on social media he appears as a model of intelligence and stability. People love him, respect him, admire him, and this is no coincidence. All of it is a carefully created display designed to make an impression. In public, being around him feels easy, calm, and comfortable. He can say the right words, keep a conversation going, listen with attention, and show understanding. Such a person becomes the life of the party, an example to follow, and even an object of envy. How lucky is the one who is with him. But this is exactly where the trap lies. The real him does not appear in front of others, but only in close relationships, when there are no spectators and the mask can be removed. Inside, he is a completely different person. Cold, controlling, inclined to arrogance and disregard. His methods are far from open scenes or loud quarrels. Instead, he acts subtly and elegantly. A smirk, a passing remark, a hint dropped between the lines. It seems as if nothing serious has happened, yet inside you are left with an unpleasant aftertaste. This is where the precision lies. Every word, every pause does not strike openly, but reaches inside. And the hardest part is that proving what is happening is almost impossible. When you begin to voice your doubts, he will always find an excuse. He will say, "You misunderstood. It was just a joke. You are too sensitive." And at some point, you really begin to wonder, what if he is right and you are wrong? This is where the main danger of the covert narcissist reveals itself. He undermines your confidence not with obvious actions, but with doubt that gradually destroys from within. If an overt aggressor is easy to recognize, he shouts, pressures, creates scenes. The covert one acts more quietly, but the result can be no less damaging. That is why such people are considered among the most difficult to recognize. They know how to remain ideal in the eyes of others, while someone next to them, one-on-one, is slowly losing confidence in themselves. To understand why dealing with a covert narcissist is so difficult, it is important to look at his main methods of influence. Unlike the familiar image of a person who acts roughly and openly, the covert narcissist chooses other methods. He rarely raises his voice, does not create scenes, and does not show aggression in the usual form. His power lies in silence, in half-hints, in a game that cannot be captured. And it is this invisibility that makes him so dangerous. You are left with no proof, only a growing sense of anxiety and doubt in yourself. The first, gaslighting, when reality begins to shake. One of the main techniques of the covert narcissist is to undermine trust in your own memory and perception. You say, "You promised," and in response you hear, "That never happened. You imagined it." You remind him of a sharp phrase, and with a smile he replies, "You probably misheard." And the longer this goes on, the more often you start to doubt, not him, but yourself. You feel as if you forget, exaggerate, that something is wrong with you. In the end, you begin to apologize for the very fact that you dared to notice the inconsistency. Gaslighting is not shouting and not a scandal. It is a subtle substitution of reality that makes you stop trusting yourself. And this is its destructive power, because when you stop believing your own feelings, you become completely dependent on his interpretation of events. The second, passive aggression, poisonous politeness. A covert narcissist may appear calm on the surface, but his weapon is a thin mockery, delay, or forgetfulness. He will not raise his voice, but can easily throw in a cutting joke that leaves you unsettled. He might forget about an important meeting for you, and then innocently say, "Oh, it just slipped my mind, nothing serious." He might ignore a message and then excuse himself. "I was too busy." Seemingly nothing wrong, yet you feel devalued, diminished, deprived of support, and it is impossible to prove it. On the surface, everything looks innocent. The third, manipulation through third parties, a game of three. Another favorite technique is involving other people. These can be friends, colleagues, or former partners. He may casually remark, "I always had a special connection with her," or drop a phrase like, "She cooks better than you." Seemingly a joke or a random comparison, but the result is the same. Inside you grows jealousy, anxiety, a feeling of competition. You begin to fight for his attention, to prove your importance. And he is satisfied, because that is exactly what he wanted. You are tense, you are striving, and he remains in the position of the one for whom you must compete. The fourth, avoiding responsibility, everything except guilt. If you try to talk seriously instead of a direct answer, you get sarcasm, philosophical reflections, or a lecture on how you should live properly. He is ready to explain to you how to be wise, calm, and mature. But he will never say the simple words, "I'm sorry." Any situation turns out so that the problem is yours. You misunderstood, you reacted too sharply, you exaggerated. He always stays clean, and you are the one who took it too far. The fifth, using resources, taking but not giving. A covert narcissist knows how to take time, energy, care, money, connections. He easily demands your attention and support, but rarely thinks about your boundaries or needs. Moreover, he believes that you owe him. Why? Because he is special. Because you are with him. And that is supposedly enough. Your resources for him are taken for granted. He will keep taking again and again, without giving the same in return. And all these tactics share one thing in common. They are invisible to outsiders. From the outside, everything looks like ordinary misunderstandings, jokes, forgetfulness, or just personality traits. But inside, you feel how your strength leaves you, how your confidence melts away, how what once seemed stable slowly collapses. If his tactics can be noticed only over time, then the inner world of the covert narcissist remains closed almost always. On the outside, he looks impeccable, calm, balanced, composed, polite down to the smallest details. He knows how to listen carefully, look directly into your eyes, and say the right words that create a sense of reliability and care. For those around him, this is a person who can be trusted. But if you look more closely, behind this smooth surface there is no warmth, no genuine closeness. Only a cold emptiness that he carefully guards, not allowing anyone to look inside. The inner state of such a person is often filled with irritation, hidden envy, and tension that cannot be noticed from the outside. He cannot stand the success of others, their independence, or the sincere joy of those around him. Every time someone near him achieves something important, he feels a quiet resistance, a desire to belittle or at least reduce the significance of that achievement. He may respond with a cold glance, a sharp remark, or an ironic smile that seems to mean nothing, yet leaves behind an unpleasant feeling. His memory for grievances is especially strong. Unlike open people who can flare up and quickly cool down, the covert narcissist acts differently. He may pretend to have forgotten the situation, but inside he holds on to it for years. He will not forget the moment when you allowed yourself to question his rightness, spoke the truth openly, or decided to leave. Outwardly, this may not appear immediately, but inside there lives a determination to one day return it with precision and calculation. At the same time, he never admits his vulnerability and is not ready to openly say that something has hurt him. Apologies for him are impossible because he does not see mistakes in himself. In his picture of the world, others are always to blame. If you feel heavy being next to him, then in his view it means you are too reactive, you are too busy, too sensitive, you misunderstood something. He always remains in the position of being right by definition, and therefore, he is not going to change. The main thing to remember is this: a covert narcissist is not inclined to rethink or change his behavior. For him, one thing is obvious. The world must be the way he sees it, and people around him must adapt to his rules. In his eyes, it is you who must understand, accept, and adjust, while he is already perfect. And it is precisely this inner conviction that makes interaction with him especially exhausting. No explanations, no requests, no attempts to negotiate bring results, because in his understanding the dialogue is never equal. When we begin to ask ourselves why exactly this type of narcissist is considered the most insidious, the answer lies not in obvious signs, but in the fact that they act quietly, leaving behind not facts but doubts. In a relationship with a covert narcissist, there are no loud scenes, no shouting, no obvious outbursts. Everything looks calm and even respectable. But this is precisely what makes the situation so dangerous. The destruction happens from within, slowly and almost invisibly, while the person next to him gradually loses strength and confidence in themselves. You may not immediately understand what is actually happening. At first, it seems like a simple misunderstanding, a casual joke, a minor miscommunication. But gradually, you begin to sleep worse, to feel anxiety more often, and to carry guilt for what you believe you may have done wrong. Every word is replayed in your mind. Every action of yours becomes a subject of doubt. Instead of feeling secure, you start asking yourself over and over, what if I really went too far? What if something is wrong with me? The most painful part of this process is that people around almost never notice what is going on. For friends, colleagues, or even family, this person may look impeccable, calm, intelligent, thoughtful. They are genuinely surprised if you decide to share your experiences. But he is so polite. You probably misunderstood. These are the phrases a partner most often hears. And these words cut no less than the situation itself, because in them lies the complete invalidation of your experience. As a result, you find yourself in a double trap. Inside, you doubt yourself, and outside, you receive no support. A covert narcissist leaves no obvious traces. He slowly wears you down through undermining trust in yourself, through guilt, through the constant shifting of emphasis. And very often, all this happens without witnesses, in private, where no one can confirm your feelings. That is why relationships with such a person are especially heavy. You walk as if on shaky ground, where every step causes new doubts, and proving what is happening becomes impossible. It is this invisibility, the absence of open conflict, and the ability to maintain the mask that make the covert narcissist one of the hardest to recognize and one of the most damaging for the psyche. And when we realize how subtle and refined the actions of a covert narcissist can be, the main question arises: how do you break this cycle and regain your inner foundation? The most difficult part here is not even leaving itself, but recognizing the fact that being next to this person truly makes you feel heavy. You need to honestly tell yourself, what is happening is not an exaggeration and not your oversensitivity. It is a consistent pattern of behavior that gradually destroys confidence in yourself and distorts your perception of reality. The first step is to believe yourself. This means acknowledging that your feelings are real, that the anxiety, fatigue, and emptiness do not appear out of nowhere. As long as you keep looking for the problem only within yourself, you continue to play by his rules. The moment you allow yourself to trust your own feelings, the reverse process begins. You reclaim the right to your own reality. It is important to remember, destructive behavior does not always appear loudly. It can be disguised as politeness, intelligence, care, and the ability to speak beautifully. A covert narcissist will not openly create scenes. Instead, he will lead you to a state where you begin to doubt yourself, apologize without reason, and think that you are the source of the problem. This is exactly where his strength lies. He makes a person slowly break down from the inside. That is why it is so important to stop in time and ask yourself a direct question. How do I feel when I am next to this person? If the answer is anxiety, tension, a sense that you must always stay alert, this is already a signal. Real closeness and real love never make a person justify themselves for every word or feel guilty for their own emotions. Real love supports, gives strength, and helps you be yourself. And if next to him you feel only doubt, exhaustion, and constant self-questioning, then it is not love and not care, but a subtle game in which you slowly lose yourself. At that moment, the most important thing is not to try to prove something to others, but to begin to return trust to your own feelings and step by step walk out of this cycle.